Hello, everyone. This is Brandon Marianne Lee from Fantasy Alarm, and I am here with the Howard Bender, who was just on the radio today on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio on behalf of Fantasy Alarm. He is a baller. He is amazing, and we are so happy to have him here. Hi, Howard. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well, Brandon. I think it's actually really kind of funny that today we're doing tight end rankings when the one tight end who I actually wanted this year, I can no longer have, and I'm done. I'm done. I'm quitting fantasy football because of it. I'm out. This is my swan song. Bye bye.
Yeah, but you're the tight end whisperer. This is supposed to be your show.
How am I supposed to whisper when the only good tight end, the breakout candidate of 2018, the tight end one of 5 of my 11 best ball teams, okay, is gone?
Well,
Bye-bye.
we've talked about this a lot. So best ball is kind of like this big buzzword right now on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, of which we are on that channel. And you and I have both been a little conservative about the best ball. I feel like it's kind of like fun to do, but this is the kind of stuff that makes me very hesitant about putting too much into. I know a lot of people are doing best balls by the dozen every single day, but this is why I get a little worried because they keep saying it's about skill, and if you're really good, you can be really good early because you have a good sense. But like you can't predict Hunter Henry tearing his ACL. When he's just jogging. I mean, there was no contact, everyone, which, by the way, most ACLs are like that, frankly. There's no contact, but it's when you know it's a really bad injury. There was no way to really predict that. He's not like an injury-prone guy even. You can't even have that narrative. It just was a freak accident. So what are you telling people now? Because we kind of have a conundrum as professionals where we need to promote best balls and whatnot, and it's really fun, but also to express caution.
Oh, definitely to express caution. Listen, I know. Listen, partners, sponsors, they're not happy when I turn around and I say, don't put your hard-earned money into it. Like, I know maybe it's $10 a team. You throw it in there, you draft. It's, you enjoy that and you see what happens at the end of the day. But I mean, there's just so much that happens between now and then that I wouldn't go crazy. If you wanna, if you have a certain budget for yourself, now is not the optimum time to spend that budget. You go banana cakes in like August and do an MFL 10 a night. That's fine.
By all means.
Go ahead, do it then. That's the time you do it. Right now, oh man, I mean it's so dicey, really dicey. We were actually just sitting here. I did a mock draft for a magazine, and I can't say which one it was or whatever, but when the guy took Hunter Henry, it was 2 picks right before me. And we all know each other.
Sad.
It's like,
right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, you suck. Yeah, everything that you're not supposed to say in an industry league, I said. I'm a blurter. I love that. And I was like, but I was actually like, yeah, that was a really good pick, Hunter Henry, blah, blah, blah. And I was genuine about it. And now I'm like, suck it. That's why you don't draft in May.
Yeah, you can talk a lot of smack to whoever drafted him already. So go ahead and go do it. And unfortunately, this is going to be in a magazine. It's done.
Yeah.
So this poor gentleman, was it a gentleman?
It was a gentleman.
I thought you said he. But they're like bummed because they look like they messed up, and so people are going to get this way late and then they're going to say, I don't understand. So this is the problem. But, listen, it's still incredibly fun to play these best ball leagues. Don't get me wrong. What I said when I did my little video this week about Hunter Henry is that this just emphasizes the need for depth. This is all about technique. You have to have the depth because you don't know whether or not someone's going to freaky get injured, okay? I made this mistake at running back last season. The leagues where I got David Johnson early, I really focused on getting wide receivers, tight ends, and quarterbacks early because I was like, you know what, I'm just going to load this team up, and then all I need is one other guy. That was my thought. I could stream running backs for that one other guy. And then David Johnson goes down in the first week, and it was over for me in those leagues because I had taken so many chances after him in some of these leagues because I got cute. I got just too cute with what I wanted to do in those leagues because I was so sure of David Johnson. So even if you're so sure, like a guy like David Johnson, don't do it, people. Get the depth that you need. You need to have those big time starters early and then get the depth, especially in these best ball leagues, because you cannot pick anyone up. It's over.
No, so let me ask you then, is this a possible advocacy of taking two tight ends right on top of each other? Because here's the thing is that let's say you take Hunter Henry in the 7th round. You're throwing away the rest of your other two tight ends. You're throwing it away. You're not really worried about it. Maybe Cameron Brate falls into your lap in the 15th round. You're like, oh, sweet, Cameron Brate in the 15th round. Whatever the case may be, but you're kind of throwing away your tight ends, your other two. So if you're in a best ball format, wouldn't it make sense then, if you're worried about one guy going down, to get another one of somewhat equal caliber so that if that does happen. Now, what's the worst case scenario here? You've taken back-to-back tight ends. You've got two really good tight ends. It's best ball. Who cares? I'm sure you got a flex spot, and if your tight end scores more than your running back, your backup running backs or wide receivers, it works for you here. I mean, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but like all of a sudden, as I'm like saying it, the words are coming out of my mouth. It sort of makes sense.
Yes, and I think you should do the same thing with quarterbacks. I think you load up early, and then I go bam bam. I actually talk about how I'm kind of a I know this is the tight end show, but again, there's so few tight ends that we actually enjoy in life. We might as well fill this show with actually practical advice at the top.
There are none.
You guys,
there are none. There are none anymore. There are zero tight ends that I am interested in anymore. I'm done.
It's really tragic, but I actually say that I am a late round quarterback type person because who does math, but I'm a late round pair of quarterbacks person. So I almost always go bam bam on my quarterbacks late, and I just play the matchups for these two quarterbacks. And I know that's not necessarily popular because people like to just have one on their roster, but I actually believe that leagues are so deep right now. At least a lot of leagues that I'm in, and I don't know about you, Howard, but people have a gazillion spots on these rosters, and I'm fine having two quarterbacks that I just kind of go back and forth on instead of fighting for the true late round quarterbacks where it's like every week you're just like playing the best option and you're picking up and dropping. I don't want to pick up and drop, but I do want to play the best matchup. So like I'll do something where I might pair up, Phillip Rivers and Matthew Stafford. Something like that. Like none of them are sexy picks, but when they go up against a defense that they're going to shred, great. Instead of being like, this week I'm deciding between Deshaun Kaiser and Brett Hundley. Now, last year, a lot of us had to do that. And it's interesting because a lot of people were bringing up like average stats. So for instance, Mariota and Jameis Winston had some stat lines where they were like above average. But I was like, yeah, because last year, every quarterback that was good was hurt. And so we were talking about the Brett Hundleys of the world. And look at the guys that were starting last season. Bad. Tom Savage, of course he's above average. Last season was horrifying. There were not enough quarterbacks to play. So I think it's important to kind of, look at context. I'm always about context and I'm always about depth. These are two things that I'm really big on. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in the show because the tight ends, you're the tight end whisperer. So we're going to talk a little bit about your strategy when you're evaluating these tight ends. But then also we're going to talk about the fact that tight ends, there are so few people that you can depend on for week in, week out production. So if you're not going to get one of those top 3, maybe up to 5 people, maybe, then you
You're so generous.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that would be in the oddest of circumstances. You can go up to 5 here, people, but not really. So what we're going to talk about is like what you do then in terms of streaming and people that we think have potential breakout seasons. So let's go ahead and let's just start out with the goodies. We're going to start out with the goodies. Hold on, where did my goodies go? It was here. Oh, there it is. Hello. I've got so many windows, you guys. I have to find what I'm looking for. So I did my rankings. Howard's going to talk a little bit about that. Also, everyone, if you go to my Twitter handle right now, it's at Brandon her FFB. There's this really cool thing called fantasycares.net. And basically, it is a best ball league. But it's an eliminator. So 17 people, which are 16 people and, one quote unquote celebrity. Somehow I'm in it. You play against them, and every week, whoever has the lowest score gets eliminated. So that's why there's 17. And last year, I think I was second place. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Again, depth is the big thing here. But there are 3 spots left in mine, and I'd love for you guys to go check it out. Again, it's fantasycares.net, and you can pick actually from a big drop down of a lot of other people that analyze fantasy football. And I have it up on my page, and I want it to be done tonight because I'm like that. So let's start here with Rob Gronkowski. You know what? I know that there's a lot of cute out there where people like Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz. Rob Gronkowski is the best fantasy tight end in history in pretty much every metric that you can come up with. Like, it's not even close, actually. So why would you say that there's a reason, or like what would be the reason to not rank him number 1? Because there are a lot of people that are not.
I guess probably because when was the last time Rob Gronkowski actually played a full season? Like, to me, it's just to rank him number 1. Yeah, because if he has a full season, then the guy's numbers are ridiculous. I don't know. It's really
number 1 even in 13 games only played last season. Still number 1. He doesn't even have to play full season to be number 1.
Yeah, there's really. I mean, I'm trying to. I guess I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, and really trying to, because there really is nobody else better when if you could just pick your tight end every single week, any tight end you want, who would you take? And I guarantee you, everybody would just take. If you could take Rob Gronkowski without any cost or penalty and just use him, he would be everybody's first choice, I think. Regardless of matchup.
And here's my problem. If you don't get, again, maybe the top 5, I would actually say maybe 4, 3 really. If you don't get those people, you still have to stream anyway. So yes, for 3 games, you have to stream with Rob Gronkowski. But with everyone else, you're streaming every week. So it's kind of like pick your poison. And this is the first year I'm seeing Rob Gronkowski go in the 3rd round. 3rd, sometimes 4th round. If you have back-to-back stud running backs and Rob Gronkowski is still there in the 3rd, would you consider taking him? Even though I'm a late round tight end person myself, but the guy always has 1,000 yards.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I mean, it definitely makes sense to take him because, well, what you're saying basically is that Rob Gronkowski as a tight end puts up the numbers of equal of a wide receiver 1. So if you're getting an elite receiver, if you're getting like a top 5 receiver overall, as you're, in your 3rd round pick, then you go from there and then you just build with depth. Especially if you're dealing with like a best ball format, because if you're talking about best ball, draft a whole mess of different, mid to lower tier wide receivers, draft 8 or 9 of them. You need like 3 to hit each week. That's it. So the odds are actually in your favor to do it that way. So if you go running back, why wouldn't you take Gronk with your 3rd pick if you could, knowing that in the best ball format, it's those mid to lower tier wide receivers that you're just going to be able to stockpile later on anyway. So, yeah. I guess the Jets fan in me is having a hard time with this conversation. I think that's really what it is.
We'll get you to a safe space soon. Don't worry. The other guy, though, that went over 1,000 yards at the tight end position was Travis Kelce. To me, he's a clear number 2. I'm not as on the Patrick Mahomes train as everyone else. I think that he's fine, but I don't think he's going to change football. And I think Alex Smith had one of the better seasons for sure out of anyone in the NFL last season. But really, for tight ends, he got a lot of work. The guy had 117 targets, 83 catches, 1,038 yards, 8 touchdowns. I don't see it going any more than that, but that's great. So fabulous. And same with Zach Ertz, only 14 games played, but he did have 824 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, so he's obviously number 3. Now, I went way down on Jimmy Graham. compared to what everyone else thinks. Because last year, he was the number 4 in standard scoring tight end, and that's because he had 10 touchdowns, but he only had 520 yards. And here's my thing about the 10 touchdowns. Devontae Adams is a touchdown machine. And I'm not saying that Jimmy Graham isn't going to take maybe some of those, but to have double-digit touchdowns. He was the only tight end who had double-digit touchdowns last year, and then it went down to 8 for both Travis Kelce, and then Kyle Rudolph, Zach Ertz, and so in terms of that touchdown productivity, I do not see him replicating double-digit touchdowns, and that takes him just way down for me. And I think you and I feel the same way about Green Bay, but I'd love to hear your exact words about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that they don't throw to the tight end. The interesting thing, and I'll tell you this, because a lot of people are making that argument that they just they can get double-digit touchdowns out of Jimmy Graham, that they don't need the yardage, that he can be of that, big value, and that's something that you want. Now, you and I have talked about it bunches and bunches, that they're not set up to throw to the tight end. Now, the question is if you bring in a guy like Jimmy Graham, are you basically saying to Aaron Rodgers that once you get inside the red zone, you are now a quarterback who throws to his tight end? Or is Aaron Rodgers just going to go and be like, oh, dude, Randall Cobb out of the slot? He and I, we're like, boop, 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 we're there. And I feel like that's the thing that's holding me back from fully buying into this. Jimmy Graham is going to be this phenomenal red zone target. So, people have tried to sway me. I've been against it, from day one, as far as, elevating his value. And as people are trying to pile on evidence, I'm still finding enough things to be able to say that Randall Cobb will be his red zone target. His number 1 red zone target is not a far-fetched concept at all. So how do you say that it's new guy Jimmy Graham in a position that the quarterback never throws to, or Randall Cobb, his best friend?
But again, I don't even think it's going to be Randall Cobb. It is Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams has the absolute most touchdowns over the last 2 seasons combined at 22. No one else is even close. He is the only wide receiver with double-digit touchdowns back-to-back years. That's it. It's just him in 2016, 2017. So the fact that all of a sudden they're going to be not only no to Devontae Adams, but also no to Randall Cobb, and also, they have a 3-headed monster there at the running back position, and they're going to get touchdowns too, everyone. So where are all these touchdowns coming from? And then Jimmy Graham's still going to get 10? That's a lot of touchdowns for a guy who just got there.
Well, it is. It definitely is a lot of touchdowns. But how many touchdowns has Aaron Rodgers been averaging over time? What do we want to pencil him in for this year? Do we want to just say 30 touchdowns? If it's 30 touchdowns, Devontae Adams, let's say he has a dozen. Okay, so the other 18 touchdowns, where are those going? How many are going to Randall Cobb? How many would go to Jimmy Graham? Because, okay, if you want to take 5 away for running back pass plays, because they still don't know what's going on there with Ty Montgomery and Aaron Jones and how that's going to happen there. So, I'm just trying to help them make their argument, but I see what you're saying in that you've got Devontae Adams. I'm saying, yeah, throw in Randall Cobb too as a favorite target. Now take 5 away from the running backs. And where's Jimmy Graham getting his double-digit touchdowns? They're just not there.
Yeah, and so listen, everyone loves our guy, Aaron Rodgers. He's had between 30 and 40 touchdowns per year, for the last 3 seasons. So I get that there are touchdowns to be had. I just feel like there are a lot of targets, and I just genuinely believe that the number 1 target in the red zone is our guy Devontae Adams. But I think it's intriguing to me that people think that somehow Graham's going to just walk in there and just take all this, because they thought he would do that in Seattle too. It takes time for a tight end to integrate themselves into that offense. And you think after a season after Aaron Rodgers was down to injury that they're just going to be yeah, we're okay with no one blocking? Because they have running backs that can't block too. It's a lot of problems here. And they got to protect this guy. So they're going to have to decide which non-blocker they're going to have in there, because there's not a lot of help. So I think that's interesting. My number 4 guy, and I think that there's not enough buzz about him, because I'm going to go back up to that, is Evan Engram. And I think it's because they got a lot of weapons in the offseason, right? So Odell Beckham is back. Getting Saquon Barkley is obviously huge. But I still think that Evan Engram, in terms of those short passes, is still going to get some love. And I think that they're going to try to pass a lot. It's actually why I'm a little bit nervous with Saquon Barkley's rushing numbers, to be honest with you, because it's really a pass-first team, and it has been for years. And they're saying, oh, no, this new offense, so it's going to be whatever. And I'm like,
Well, I mean, it's been that way for years, obviously, because they just haven't had the personnel. Like, you can't draft a Saquon Barkley knowing that Eli Manning thrives when he's got a running game to fall back on. Every time he has a running back to fall back on, he does well. Whenever he doesn't have that, he tries to do too much. He makes too many bad choices, and he makes a bunch of mistakes. That's the MO there. So Evan Engram, though, but I mean, I agree with you that it's still going to be pass heavy. But you gotta figure that they're gonna cut it back, a fair amount with Saquon Barkley. But your point, I guess, on putting Evan Engram 4th overall, huge red zone target, and a guy who Eli looks to for yardage as well. He looks to him between the 20s, so I dig it.
I think it's 2 parts for me. So Evan Engram had the 2nd most targets among all tight ends last season. He's not going to have that again, okay? But he only caught 59% of them. Why? Because the Giants were terrible, and he was a rookie. And rookies are not asked from the tight end position to contribute like that year one very often. So I think that he was just set up to have kind of a less efficient season than he would have liked. I think his efficiency goes up and his targets go down, and he remains that same kind of productivity level. That's what I'm seeing for the next season. Because for a rookie tight end, it was pretty impressive. Kyle Rudolph is kind of like steady Eddie, like nobody cares, but like he'll be fine. I think the president wants him. Yeah, but I mean, he's not sexy.
Grabbing him.
Yeah, he's a good one.
Maybe he's not sexy.
He, Delaney Walker, and Greg Olsen are the least sexy picks, but everyone will be like, "Oh, I'm so glad I have them."
I don't know, man. That purple on Kyle Rudolph really makes his eyes pop. I think it's fantastic. I love him. I think he's great. I've just gone to Kyle Rudolph. It's been hysterical. It's like, I punt the tight end position and somehow always end up with Kyle Rudolph still. Like, it makes no sense to me.
I have a lot of Kyle Rudolph in my life, my dynasty leagues and everything. I'm like, sure, I'll take him. Okay. Because he got 8 touchdowns last season.
I love it.
That's Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, Zach Ertz. I mean, that's a good category to be part of. Jack Doyle was way overused in Indy last season. They did get Eric Ebron, but I still think that Jack Doyle is the guy there. And I think that, again, they're going to have to make some decisions quickly about what's going on with Andrew Luck, and they're going to have to decide whether they're planning for Jacoby Brissett or Andrew Luck. If it is Jacoby Brissett, I do think that Jack Doyle gets another 100 targets.
It's probably going to be Brissett because, again, what was the count? It was 507 days that Andrew Luck hadn't thrown a football.
Pretty unbelievable.
507 days. I mean, again, it's so funny too when people are like, we're supposed to be talking tight ends, but all of this other stuff that pops up here, people still saying he's fine, he's going to be fine. I don't understand how anybody, are they just playing the 50-50 percentages here, thinking that, last year I said he was going to be fine, and he wasn't. So this year he's had the time to heal. So I'm going to say that he's going to be fine and you should draft him. Like, I don't understand the logic of this when the guy clearly hasn't thrown a football. Makes zero sense to me. So I love Jack Doyle way more than I love Eric Ebron. I don't
even think it's close. Yeah, who loves
Eric Ebron? Remotely close. And it is Jacoby Brissett who's going to need to utilize Jack Doyle even more so inside the red zone, because Jacoby Brissett, one of the main things that he needs to do is improve his completion percentage inside the red zone, and just leaning on Jack Doyle is going to do that for him.
Indy. please create a playbook around Jacoby Brissett's
Oh,
skill.
for the
Please,
love of
it's just embarrassing. Stop yourself. Michael Stepney says, hoping for double-digit touchdowns from Graham is fool's errand. We agree. He also says, loves some Walker as a consistent target for fantasy. I do want to go back to Walker there because Marcus Mariota, again, consistency problems, target issues, what have you. As long as Delaney Walker is still there, I just don't think he has a more consistent set of hands to throw to. And you can tell whenever it comes down to the wire, there's Delaney Walker. The numbers weren't great last season, but they were fine compared to everyone else. Guys, everyone look around. But that was when Marcus Mariota was playing not great football. So this is intriguing to me. I think that if Marcus Mariota can improve even just a slight bit, that helps Delaney Walker. But would you say out of these guys, the Delaney Walker, Kyle Rudolph, Greg Olsen area, which one would you target out of those three? Because I think a lot of people are going to wait for that kind of tier.
Yeah, I mean Kyle Rudolph for me. He would be he's the guy out of this group that we're talking about. He's the guy Rashard Matthews could be that guy for Marcus Mariota. He could be if he just threw to him more consistently. He uses Delaney Walker as a crutch, and we did see a lot of defenses keying in on that in the late half of the season. So, I would say Greg Olsen. Listen, I'll say this about Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen is going to be a good guy for me, and I'd probably take Greg Olsen before I would even take Kyle Rudolph. I wouldn't take him before Evan Engram. But the Panthers giving him a 3-year contract like that tells me the ankle is okay.
They rushed him back too quickly last season, you guys. Don't look at those last games.
So tell me that give him a 3-year contract. That tells me team has definitely investigated the health of his foot and his ankle. He's good to go, and he is Cam's guy. He is totally Cam's guy. No Kelvin Benjamin. Devin Funchess, okay, he's there. Sure, they drafted DJ Moore. Okay, all reliable for Cam Newton. Greg Olsen, boom, boom, boom. So, I would probably take him, then Kyle Rudolph, then Delaney Walker.
Yeah. Someday Delaney Walker is going to be old, and so will Greg Olsen. Until then, continue on. I mean, the tight ends, there's just not a whole lot of other options, as we're going to get to here. It gets a little bit tragic. Gene Gregory says Cobb only works in the slot if Adams can actually hold on to those tougher catches. I mean, I agree, but also Adams with Brett Hundley was just sad. I mean, I don't even know if I can.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome wide receiver with him, but and. Listen, Mike Manzo also thanked us for helping him win his championship again. Yay. Well, now it gets worse for Graham, Gene Gregory, and then also Mike Lanzalotti. There we go. I traded a 6th-round pick for Deshaun Watson and a 14th. I know I overpaid a bit, but is it a good long-term deal?
Wait, what was the deal again?
For D. Watson. That could only be Deshaun Watson, right?
I'm assuming.
6th-round pick and a 14th.
A 6th and a 14th for Deshaun Watson?
Oh, no, he traded a 6th-round pick for Deshaun Watson and a 14th. Oh. Mike, I'm confused because it sounds like you stole from someone. Should we arrest you? What happened?
Right? Thief, dude. That's great. I love that trade.
Yeah, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but that's how it's spelled out. So, wow.
That he got Deshaun Watson and a 14th-round pick for his 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
I took Deshaun Watson in the 5th round of a magazine mock draft the other day.
Yeah, why not?
Deshaun Watson.
Play to win, everybody. Play to win. Jordan Reed, I have at 10, and Tyler Eifert at 11. So here's how I feel about this. If Jordan Reed can stay healthy, which I know is the craziest sentence that I've started out with in a long time, Alex Smith knows how to use a tight end. The opportunity is there. In my opinion, if you were doing a best ball league and you wanted to pair Jordan Reed and your last round pick is Vernon Davis, I think it could work. And Tyler Eifert. Let's talk about that for a minute. So I told you the tier of people that have 10 touchdowns and 8 touchdowns. 7 touchdowns were by Tyler Kroft. Again, if Tyler Eifert can be healthy, which again is a sentence that is hard to say, I know you're leaving. So would you instead wait and draft though? Especially again, we're talking about people that are drafting now. It's best ball. Would you wait and draft maybe like a Tyler Croft or a Jordan or a Vernon Davis because these guys have the potential to be great, but they just can't stay healthy? We have to teams.
What's that?
We have to acknowledge the teams because the teams use a tight end, but these guys just can't stay healthy.
All right. So here's my take on these guys. These are the guys you want to take in a best ball format. And just make sure that you take 3 tight ends.
Right.
But if you're gonna take a Jordan Reed or a Tyler Eifert, what you need to make sure is, and like we were just saying earlier, is draft your second tight end. Draft fairly close to where you took Reed or whatever, because these guys will all fall down, a little bit more. But what I'm thinking here is that these guys, when they're on the field, they are the main targets, and that's the system in which they play. And so, when healthy, great options here. You have to build into the draft price the fact that they are probably going to miss anywhere from 4 to 7 weeks out of the season. You build that into the price, which is why you don't take them in the 3rd round. You wait until they fall to like the 6th or the 7th round, and then you grab them. And then you know what? Then grab a little bit later on there and get yourself another good backup tight end. Just a decent guy. Doesn't have to be amazing, but just a decent guy. And then that way in your best ball format, you're getting, whatever, your best tight ends points, which could be a high upside, high risk, high reward type guy. That's for best ball. Seasonal, no. Stay the hell away. Don't bother. You're killing yourself.
Yeah. The system speaks to me. The players scare me. And that's why the only reason these players intrigue me is that I don't know about you. And again, early ADP numbers are very unreliable because people are only playing really best balls right now. So those drafts are very different. But those guys are falling very low. And I think they're out of favor with people so much that they might be worth a lottery ticket late. And so if you're in a league where half of the people have already said, I'm out. Because I think it's to the point where like half of normal, sane people that play fantasy football are out on both of these players completely and they don't care. I think there is a point, I have not found it yet, but I think there is a point where they do offer some value. So anyway, I do want to say this. It is Red Nose Day, and I said I would do this.
Oh, nice.
Oh, raise money to end childhood poverty. Red Nose Day. There you go. I feel classy.
I don't have a red nose. I can. I can drink a bunch right now.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you sure?
I got a bottle of bourbon in here somewhere, right? Oh. Anywho.
So let's get to this other tier of.
Wait. Can I ask you a question? Now that we are 11 tight ends into your rankings right now.
And no one else exists. I'm under the impression.
Well,
no,
yeah.
I like a couple of them.
Where was Hunter Henry on this list? Where was he?
Between Kyle Rudolph and Delaney Walker for me.
So 6th overall. I like that. Okay.
What about you?
I'm too upset to talk about it right now.
Yeah, you did sound verklempt.
I can't, really.
I can't. All right, so the quarterbacks 12 on or the tight ends, 12 on are very dicey. It's the opposite of quarterbacks, actually, where I can take anyone, I think, in the league at this point and feel fine about it. But tight ends, I don't know. I will say this. Cameron Brate got a monster contract, and I'm so sorry, all the Dynasty O.J. Howard lovers, because they're not getting rid of Cameron Brate. He is definitely the receiving tight end that you would like to have. Sorry. It's kind of like the people that like loved Hunter Henry. It's like it's over. Deion Lewis got a monster contract. Like, I'm sorry, he's just not going to be the featured guy. So, it's the
Derrick
same thing
Henry.
Derrick Henry.
You just said Hunter, and you made me all sad again.
Sorry. Oh no, Derrick Henry. I'm sorry. But it's the same thing, guys. It's not narrative street to look at contracts. It's important to look at contracts because it does give you some sort of indication, like you were talking about with Greg Olsen, of what the team is thinking about that person's potential within the organization and what have you. So I think Cameron Brate is a solid choice. Same with David Njoku. He's definitely the tight end in Cleveland. He has no other competition to like take away that job from him, and they are excited to get him more involved. Cleveland makes me a little nervous because they have a quarterback, situation, and they're going to be at Hard Knocks, and yada yada. And David Njoku's stock is going to go way up because of Hard Knocks, because that's how it always works. So that makes me a little bit nervous. But at the end of the day, I just believe that David Njoku is going to take a big step forward. And same with Trey Burton. Unfortunately, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, Trey Burton was the golden child for fantasy analysts. So anyone that's been listening to SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio or anyone else has basically pumped up Trey Burton to the point of like, oh, this is the greatest ever. And I even said when he went to Chicago, I said Trey Burton could be a star anywhere else, but he's playing behind Zach Ertz. He does have that potential. They also have Adam Sheehan, who could be that guy too, and they do like him as well, though. So I'm going to exercise some caution with Trey Burton and see. This is why we have the preseason, everybody. I want to see how this actually works out. They could do 2 tight end sets. We're not quite sure what this offense is exactly going to look like. We do know that Matt Nagy likes to use a tight end, but usually it's just one. It's usually been Travis Kelce. So it would be weird to me to have this 2 tight end set thing where both people would be fantasy relevant. But today we're leaning towards Trey Burton. And Benjamin Watson, guy, he could be 50. And he's back with the Saints. The Kobe Fleener experiment is done. Do you think he has a chance of like making a little bit of touchdown noise? Like, I think he's going to be a tight end whisperer candidate.
Yeah, he's going to be one of those guys that if the matchup is right, and and the spirits move me, then I might whisper the name Ben Watson every now and again. But it's so far from being like a regular thing. I think I don't know. It's just I love the transition that New Orleans has done to going so heavy with the ground game, and I think it really works for them. So. Can Ben Watson be incorporated into the offense? Yeah, but I mean, are we looking at 4 touchdowns? Or are we looking at 6 touchdowns? That's going to be the question, and I think it could end up being closer to 4.
Yeah, it could, because they have so many weapons there now.
Yeah.
I mean, New Orleans just has on top of their running backs and wide receivers and whatnot. But I think that Benjamin Watson just plays on a team that will be scoring touchdowns. So that's the good news. So I'm okay with like having him as kind of one of those like flyer guys that I'm pairing up with someone.
Right.
Out of the kind of like du jour guys, Cameron Brate, David Njoku, or Trey Burton, which one would you prefer?
I would probably go with I mean, I really like Njoku so much. Walking into the season, I'm so bummed that Cleveland's doing Hard Knocks because it puts Njoku like right there into mainstream. So again, now that I've lost Hunter Henry, my breakout tight end candidate of the year, and everybody and their grandma is all over David Njoku now because he's going to be on Hard Knocks, and he is a good, solid pass-catching tight end, it's going to kill me. I mean, it's really going to kill me. I don't know if I would – I mean, I can't go with Ben Watson here. So I would, if I had to pick one, I would probably go with Njoku. Then I would probably go with Trey Burton.
Yeah. Then just say, you know what, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm considering Cameron Brate, though. That guy speaks to me in a weird way.
And he was, he was phenomenal. He really was. He was a fantastic red zone target. We did see O.J. Howard step a little bit more into the target, gathering towards the tail end of the season there. So, yeah, I'm with you. It's where do I go? But I mean, listen, if you're sitting here and you're looking in like the 15th round and Cameron Brate is your option, I'm sure you could do a lot worse than Cameron Brate in the 15th round.
Well, and I'm going to ask you to choose between people moving on because, like, frankly, at this point, you're just adding depth and mostly just for best ball, and you're just hoping that something sticks. So in terms of guys that you actually did use a tight end whisperer touch with last season, my next 3 picks are George Kittle from San Francisco, Vance McDonald, Pittsburgh, and Ricky Seals-Jones from Arizona. Now, there's a little bit of buzz about each of these guys, but none of them have really moved up enough in the ranks and with ADP to really kind of give them that last oomph. But if you had to pick one of them to kind of back up your starting tight end, who would it be?
Interesting. I think I would probably go with Vance McDonald. Like I just don't know what to expect from Ricky Seals-Jones. I don't know what to expect
Mhm.
from the offense that they're going to put together in Arizona. Like I know that they're going to force feed Larry Fitzgerald. I know it's going to be a steady diet of blah, 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 David Johnson. David Johnson already said he wants to be one of those running backs with 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. If that's the case, that's a significant number of targets there. So I don't really know what to expect from Ricky Seals-Jones. With George Kittle, it's like, yeah, okay, you got George Kittle, and fine, he had a decent rapport with Jimmy Grapes, but you know what? So did Garrett Selleck. And Garrett Selleck was, a very strongly used red zone option for the 49ers last year. So, I look at that and I say, flip a coin on these tight ends too. Is George Kittle just the bigger name? Is that why that we're discounting Garrett Selleck here? So for me, I'll go Vance McDonald as the tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that Big Ben still needs his tight ends.
Yeah, I would say George Kittle, the reason I think people are excited is that he did have over 500 receiving yards as a rookie tight end. And again, traditionally, rookie tight ends don't do all that great. But speaking of, I do have Mike Gesicki up at 19, which obviously isn't like crazy big, but he's kind of one of my sleepers. I really believe Adam Gase wants to use him right out of the gates. And I don't normally tell you to get any sort of rookie tight ends. And I was talking about Mike Gesicki before he was even drafted. And the fact that he landed in a spot where they want to use a tight end is very promising to me. If there was one rookie tight end that I believe could be the Evan Engram of this year, it would probably be him. But I'll say this. Evan Engram showed us in the preseason that he was ready to take on a larger role than most rookie tight ends. So I'm still not into it unless I see that same thing from Mike Gesicki. But what do you think about stashing one of these like rookie tight ends? Is there anyone else that kind of catches your eye?
Um, No, not really. I mean, what's his name? Goddard from, who's
Yeah.
like sitting behind Zach Ertz now. So, I'm kind of curious as to that it was an odd draft pick, in my opinion. But maybe it was just a matter of best guy available on the board at the time. Gesicki's probably the guy who has the greatest opportunity to do it. We've seen what Gase does with the tight ends. The Julius Thomas experiment didn't work out, didn't repeat from the Denver days.
But that was because of Julius Thomas.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
you
Julius
watched the tape.
Thomas. That's not. Yeah, he's just not that good. So yeah, I think that Gesicki is going to be a guy who I would stash. You know what? If I were drafting in a best ball format, I would probably Gesicki's a guy I would take alongside like a Jordan Reed, and do it that way because there's a lot of high upside there, and who knows how many weeks he's going to do it as a rookie, and maybe they coincide with the weeks that Jordan Reed just happens to be on injured reserve.
So I have Charles Clay down here because I don't know what the Buffalo Bills are going to be doing as an offense, and I'm just tragic. So I'm not even going to talk about Charles Clay or the Bills at this point. But Rico Gathers is obviously someone that people are excited about. But I'm more excited about Gerald Everett. I think that his sophomore season is going to be huge. They want him to be a star in Los Angeles. And so I'm keeping my eye out for him. I think he might be one of those sleeper tight ends that actually is a sleeper at this point. Tyler Higbee obviously had more experience and had a decent season last season, but not great. So I think this just goes over to Jared Everett. I mean, Gerald Everett was their first draft pick as, a new kind of, regime. They really like him there. Are you taking chances on guys like that or Rico Gathers? Because then we got guys like Austin Safarian Jacobs and Jared Cook that we always talk about and it never happens. Like, to me, I would rather invest in someone where I'm like, well, I don't know yet than like, I do know and I don't want it.
Right. Yeah. I know what Jared Cook's ceiling is. I know what to expect from the passing game in Oakland. With Los Angeles, it's definitely a different story. And I like Everett. We saw Everett run a number of seam routes last year. That looked really, really good, really good, and had some potential. So that, yeah, you know what? Listen, Higbee's a guy. Higbee's the fill-in guy. The only reason that Higbee gets any kind of buzz is because He had that touchdown that game. It was that tight end whisperer game that I was like, gotta use
Yes.
Higbee, and it was like right in the beginning of the game, 7-yard touchdown, boom, that was it. Didn't go to Higbee for the rest of the game. Did not even go to him for the rest of the game. But I'm like, carrying that. I'm like being carried on the shoulders of tight end whisperer followers and whatever. It was great. It was fine. But yeah, there's nothing standing in the way of Gerald Everett blossoming into the number one tight end. Tyler Higbee's not a guy who's going to keep him down. So if Everett does take a step forward in camp this year, yeah, I definitely think that Jared Goff could end up using that as another reliable target. I mean, think about the reliability of dump offs to Todd Gurley, getting it into the hands of Cooper Kupp coming out of the slot. Robert Woods is one of the most reliable wide receivers out there.
Great
Finally,
hands.
right? Who finally got a chance to get the hell out of Buffalo. So to add another reliable set of hands in Gerald Everett, who's got good size and speed, I'm in.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And you know what? He was hurt last season too. So I think that really hurt him, in terms of like being able to develop as a pass catcher at the NFL level, which is just hard for rookie tight ends in general. Are there any other, I mean, to me, Austin Hooper was a guy that both of us liked last season. I know that you specifically did, but Sarkisian and this entire
I'm out.
offense.
I'm out. Tapping out.
Eric Ebron, again, I just don't know why you would choose to throw to Eric Ebron instead of Jack Doyle. It doesn't make sense in my brain. OJ Howard, yeah, he was taking some things. Now, here's some interesting guys, though, that I think we don't talk enough about. Ryan Griffin for Houston, now that CJ Fedorowicz has retired, is the number one tight end there. So that's intriguing to me. Jake Butt is coming back. And even Jeff, I never pronounced it. Hofferman has been getting kind of some press for the Denver Broncos, but everything that I've heard is that they really want Jake Butt to work out. And then Garrett Selleck, like you said about San Francisco, Adam Shaheen from Chicago as well, and Dallas Goddard from Philadelphia. And then there's this debate about Mark Andrews versus Hayden Hurst from Baltimore. Nobody knows. But are any of these guys people that you specifically like? Like out of those guys, who do you like the most?
Jake Butt.
Jake Butt. I do like Butts.
I get to say Jake Butt 100 times. No. But I mean, listen, he's a great pass catching tight end. And we actually, had he not been hurt last year, I think he would have had just been able to get an earlier opportunity in games. So I want to see, that's a guy. I'm looking at Butt this preseason here just to make sure that I get to say that again over and over again. But yeah, I think right. We're gonna kill that joke. I've used it on Sirius a dozen times. They're like, "Oh, who's your favorite? Second-year player?" I'm like, "Ooh, Jake Butt." It's always got to be Jake Butt. Why? Because I get to see Jake Butt. But no, legitimately though, he is a good, solid pass-catching tight end. Which Denver again, you got Case Keenum here. You've got good, solid wideouts in Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Get that reliable pass catching tight end there and use Jake Butt in that role. And yeah, good things. Good things.
Yeah. In terms of strategy, let's just talk about that real quick because we've really talked about, like, frankly, in my opinion, too many tight ends. We found some we kind of liked, but it's difficult because so few tight ends have more than 500 yards or 4 touchdowns. So it's very difficult to rely on them for fantasy purposes. Also, they are less consistent than kickers. And you can go back and look. If someone's a good kicker, they consistently give you fantasy points. If someone's a good tight end, it's not necessarily the case unless they're the elite 3. Okay, so you could sit there and say you don't want to play with kickers. I sometimes say, okay, well, then we don't play with tight ends. Like, we got to make a compromise because they are infuriating. But you have a skill of picking them. Can you talk up to the process that you use to select the tight ends as the tight end whisperer? Now, I don't want you to give away the special recipe.
Yeah, I can't give away the secret sauce. It's a very spiritual thing to me, Brandon. It's very, I gotta hold it.
Leave it though. I
gotta hold it. I gotta hold it close to the vest here. A magician never reveals his tricks. I know that you want to know, but listen, I think we've got bigger fish to fry actually here, because I've got a question for you. Because I'm with you. I'm tapping out on tight ends. I'm done.
Sorry.
But we got time left in this live stream.
Yeah, we have 7 minutes.
So here you go. I got a little draft strategy question for you here. I need your help, Brandon.
I love
Hi,
draft questions.
hi, Howard here from Half Moon Bay, California. Longtime listener, first time caller. Thanks for taking my call.
Hi, yeah, Howard. So nice to chat with you. What's your question?
Okay, so my league, it drafts in a Kentucky Derby style league where basically what they do is they put names into the hat. They draw the names out, and that name that the order in which the names are drawn is the order in which you select where you want to draft from. So the first name picked out of the hat, he's got his pick of any draft spot at all. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, I drew the seventh, seventh or the eighth. There's the seventh. Yeah, it was the seventh pick
Okay.
overall here. And the question was, so first was gone, second was gone, third was gone, fourth was gone, fifth was gone, and then eighth was gone. And
Okay.
it was my pick. So I could do the sixth or the seventh pick, or I could turn around and just take the wheel in a 14-teamer. What should I do?
14 teams. How deep is the league? Is it a deep league?
Standard. Standard.
Standard.
Five-person bench, starting 10 guys, kicker, defense, PPR, all the usual.
I think I would take the wheel. I think I'd take
You would take the 14th pick? You approve of that move?
I do.
All right. Well, then, Brandon Marianne
All
Lee,
right.
may I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This is like my promposal moment here. Would you join me in the FSTA League this year, side by side? You rep Fantasy Alarm with me at the table this year because I did do that. I took the 14th spot.
You did.
I took the wheel.
Oh!
And your answer to that question led me to say, this is somebody who I can trust to work with. Rep Fantasy Alarm with me, FSTA in Minneapolis this June. Are you in?
I thought you would never ask. Yes. But that's a very intriguing question, and I'm glad that you asked that. It's just I just can't. Because I think that there is. So can I ask you why you picked the 14th pick, and then I'll tell you why I did.
You know what? Picking sixth in that draft. So here you go. I see the top as being Lev Bell, David Johnson, and Todd Gurley are the top three. Okay. 4 and 5 could be Ezekiel Elliott, DeAndre Hopkins, or Antonio Brown. Okay. So I get that. So at 7, I'm basically left with the top guy that nobody else wanted. I wouldn't mind if it were DeAndre Hopkins, but I have a feeling that it wouldn't be. I don't want Ezekiel Elliott because I think he's a great running back. I think that Dallas's offensive line is going to be solid for him. I just fear that without any kind of a passing game. So my fear at the 6th spot is that I end up with I can either take Ezekiel Elliott or I could pivot to Kareem Hunt, who still has Andy Reid as his coach. Okay, so I don't know why people suddenly think that's so. I think
Because they're like, Spencer Ware is back.
Yeah, again. So I think the first round is really, really deep, and I've done a couple of drafts where I've been on the wheel, and it's like Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, good, solid, stable running backs who are still the bell cow in their offense, in an offense that likes to hand the ball off to them, likes to utilize them. So I feel like grabbing those two guys there at the wheel, I feel good about that. Or if somebody makes a mistake and there's an elite wide out there to choose, but I like that, and then I just like pairing up my picks as they go. I really do.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too, is that I felt like what I don't like about 7 is coming back.
Oh yeah.
That's where I
There you
think you
go.
get like not as good. And I feel like in a 14 team league, it's nice to pair those, like you said, like and I like to be in the front three or the bottom three because I do like to pair them either way because it's nice. It's those middle ones that just like I have to be too nimble for what I'm really comfortable for. I like to have a plan, kind of boom boom. Boom, boom. But when you're in the middle, you could just get totally jacked because there's just a full round in between your two picks. So you just can't really plan throughout the draft the way that I like. So that's one of them. And then yeah, I agree with you. And I would encourage everyone to, whether it be best ball or, just mock drafts in general, go and see what's out there. Go and see what that first, at least the first few rounds looks like. I think you can feel more confident that you really anywhere where you draft, you're going to be able to find that player. But for me, this is more about strategy and what you're comfortable with. And I agree with you. I think that the back to back is just really for me comforting because then I've created a plan and now I have 2 rounds to come up with my next plan. And that's
Welcome
important.
to the FSTA. I came in second overall last year. I lost to Greg Ambrosius and Tom Kasadik from the NFFC.
Jerks.
Yeah, total jerks. I got screwed in the championship game on a garbage time Juju Smith-Schuster touchdown. That's how they beat me. They beat me with a garbage time Juju Smith-Schuster touchdown. It was an amazing season, very up and down. Like I was at the top. I kept winning. I was probably like 6th or 7th in overall points, but yet each week it just kind of matched up and it looked great. And I had just a good solid team. Melvin Gordon was delicious for me last year. I think he was like my first pick overall. I drafted out of the 11 hole last time, so I'm loving the fact that there you go. You are officially and welcome to FSTA. You
Thank
and
you.
me gonna just beat the snot out of these morons. We're gonna crush them. I'm very excited about that. So
Pow, pow,
yeah.
pow, pow. I'm ready.
And
Ready
you
for
and
you.
Carson in the Dirty Laundry League.
Yes. The
Again,
couples league.
I
Oh,
haven't
it's gonna
really
be
spoken
amazing.
that much about it. Steph and Gene Gregory, who
Oh yeah,
chimed in over there,
yeah.
they are in the Dirty Laundry League. And then there's another caller from SiriusXM who goes by the name of Trace. He and his wife play fantasy football as well. They are in the league. And I'll say this, I'll throw this out to everybody. If you and your spouse, okay, play fantasy football and compete against each other, I want to hear like just a great story about you two competing against each other. Send it to me at howard@fantasyalarm.com. We have space open. It is called the Dirty Laundry League. It is husbands and wives only. 6 couples, 12 teams, 1 octagon, 1 team leaves.
And it's gonna be me. I'm ready.
Will it? Oh, and you know what? I'm throwing this in also. You ready for this?
Dun 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 dun. No?
You can stay in this league for as long as you are able to. The couple with the lowest win-loss total, okay, each year gets bounced from the league.
Wow.
So
So
you
if your
get to
spouse
stay in.
sucks,
So
wow.
yeah, if your spouse sucks, like if you're like trying to get in on the league and just be like, oh well, whatever, I'll just get my wife. No. I want to hear that your wife is a player. I want to hear that your husband is a player. Whatever the case may be, it's going to be competitive. Lowest combined win-loss record, boom, you're out, and then we bring in another couple the following year. So trophy, everything and I don't mess around with trophies. I don't mess around with trophies. I am all about like making like a big Mama Luke. Yeah.
I love it.
We're gonna do the draft on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio.
I love it. And Gene Gregory just said, gonna take out that dirty laundry. And then he says, Steph says 6 men enter, 1 girl leaves.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. We're already there. This is what it is.
Welcome to the Dirty Laundry League.
Yeah, there's a lot of dirty laundry. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful week. And I'm so sorry that our tight end show came on the most tragic week for tight ends. But we are going to continue on again. Next week, we will be here. And hopefully, there will not be anyone who's just jogging in Terrace CL. You guys, thank you so much again. Go follow him on Twitter at RotoBuzzGuy. Follow me at BrandonHerFFB. And thank you so much. Have a great long weekend. Bye-bye.